Yes, here we go. It's the T.N.F, the earlier time of 7 o'clock. We've been doing that the last few months, so we will carry on with that. Different lineup tonight. We've got Connor Carr back, Johnny Logue joining me as well. Very good evening to you lads. Hope you are well. Johnny, first time on in 2024, I would be thinking.
It is. I was just thinking earlier on. I don't think I've been on since before. I think the last time I was on was just before our ill-fated game against Hearts when I was on a Friday night with Phil and Liam. I think Connor was on that night as well. So, so hopefully I'm not going to be a bit of a Jonah for the weekend's game coming up.
Oh, fucking better not be for this weekend, mate. Better not be for this weekend. And why we can maybe understand why we can sort of look ahead to this weekend and be relatively relaxed that Celtic will get the result. That relaxation seems to have spiraled into a window that has been extremely quiet in January, despite the constant talk over the last couple of months from the manager, being that we needed to add quality. 4 quality players needed to be added. We've got in one this week. Nicholas Kuhn joined. We are very hopeful he's going to make a big impact on the first team, a relative unknown, and probably getting a rougher end of the stick based on the fact that he cost the same amount as what a lot of the bang average players we've signed over the last few windows have. But we need to let him see how he gets on, and we hope that he will make a big impact. We will get stuck into that. And of course, on the T.N.F, the Thursday Night Forum is the night we hand over the keys to use, and we want to get all your talking points. I'll start starring comments. So get your talking points in. Loads to get through. I'm sure there will be tonight, but anything you want to talk about Celtic, get them commented. You start off, Phil set up this wee thing. I only just noticed it the other night. Put hashtag T.N.F at the start of your question. There you go. There you go. So if you put T.N.F with a wee hashtag in front of it at the start of your question, it will make it flagged to us a wee bit easier, and we'll get as many of the talking points discussed as possible. All that good stuff means give us a wee like, give us a share, slag our hair, or if you are one of the BAMs for the CSP watching and you want to slag people off, people having a laugh, try not to. Try just, if you want to keep watching and paying my rent, I'm all for that. But I think people like that posting videos now of us just having a complete laugh, sharing it on their page. I feel sorry for that guy. I'm sure it's the guy who hosts it that used to be on this who does it. I mean, I know there's a lot of people probably watch it as well. We don't want to discourage anyone from watching them or any of that nonsense. But, you know, see when it gets to posting videos of my brother and stuff like that, I'm like, wait the fucking now. Just calm right fucking down. Slag me off all you want. But, I mean, if there is anyone who watches it as well, all I would say is the next time you're on, just ask him. I got a wee message for a guy called Kaiser last year. Ask him why. He's had a few accounts that he's no longer on Twitter, that he's either been removed or he's had to delete himself. Ask him about what he gets up to his DMs, and we'll leave that at that. Anyway, also, we are sponsored by piesports.com. And remember as well, if you want to become a Boise Bus member, like so many of you have, such as San Fran Celtic, such as Flexi, Alex Forsyth, Charles Smith, Martin Kay, Celtic 67, Stephen Murdoch, Scott Cameron, Jim C, Ali, there's loads of you. It's $1.99 a month, but remember, all our content is free. We're just glad to have as many on the bus as possible. It just helps out the old, you know, wheels on the road, as they say. 420 in there somewhere as well. But yes, we will get stuck in. We are going to tear through your comments as well. Just want to get your take, Johnny. First, obviously, as we said at the start, first time you've been on this year. Did you expect January to be a wee bit busier than what it has so far?
I think I hoped it would be a bit busier. I hoped it would be a bit more exciting, but I think anybody who watches the bus on a regular basis will know exactly what Terry's been saying to us since before January started, that, you know, we're not going to, you know, we're expecting to have 4 or 5 new first-team ready arrivals and prepare to be disappointed. And I know Connor's a little bit worked up about it, shall we say, Connor, about the lack of activity that we've had. And what are we now? Was it the 18th of January? And then when you're talking about, we've got one signing in, but then we were haggling over a couple of £100,000, and you think, just get the deal done. Like, if you think he's the man that you want in a position that we're not exactly struggling for when it comes to it, I mean, you know, just get the job done. If you think he's the man, if they want $3 million, that's their asking price. That's the minimum asking price. You know, If I put something up for sale, I'll put it up and advertise at the minimum I'm willing to accept, and I'll hopefully get a little bit more. I'm not gonna, I'm not one of these ones who puts a car up for sale and says I want $5,000 for it, but I'll accept 4. I want $5,000 for it. And if these guys wanted £3 million for this lad, and we thought he was worth buying and he was going to come straight in our team and make a difference and be oven ready, as the term we used to use, and just fucking pay it and get it done, I would like to see a few more. The left back is obviously, that's, not saying anything nobody else hasn't said. The lad from Liverpool, who's been talked about, when he first went back then, it was because Liverpool were struggling with some injury issues. They seem to be clearing up a little bit, and there might be talk of him going out again. Although I did read that they might prefer him to go to a lower English division team, League One or whatever down in England for his game time. If he comes up to Celtic, is he going to be guaranteed to play? I know that I can hear the likes of Liam Greenlaw shouting at the screen at the minute, shouting, "Damn right he should be guaranteed to play," but would he be? And if Liverpool send him out somewhere, they want him to be playing, which is why they were happy for him to go to somewhere like Dundee. Goalkeeper-wise, the lad at Liverpool again, Kelleher. Liverpool are asking £20 million for that guy. So that's a non-starter. But, we're not going to have another goalkeeper by the end of January. We're going to be sticking with Joe Hart till the summer. But, I would like to see a bit more activity, a few more players coming in. But not, somebody's going to come in. Now, you put a stat on our group chat the other night there, boys, and I was absolutely flabbergasted when I read it. 17.
Ian stats? What?
Yeah. Oh, all right, it was a stat. Yeah, it was 19 first-team players we've signed, and 17 of them hardly get a game.
Yeah. The last 19 signings, I think only 2 have, and that's including Bernardo. I think it's Bernardo and Palma, and then out with that. Yeah, and Johnston, sorry. It's Palma and Johnston, I think. And then Bernardo, you could maybe include, so it's maybe down to 16. But he's only been very recent.
Edging towards 3, but I mean, that's still shocking. I mean, that's just gross negligence and incompetence, and nobody else would get away with that kind of performance in the workplace. Not a hope in hell. If you work in a production line and you have something like, if say 20, you get three successes and 17 fails, you're not staying on that production line. You're gone. I mean, somebody who's worked a production line, I know the guys that work beside you are just not going to accept that kind of standard of work, and it's just, why should we? End of.
I think you're absolutely spot on to bring that in, Connor. I need to come to you with a slightly different angle, because there's been an interesting question posted by your ma. Not your ma. Don't before you panic. Seeing your eyebrows raising, you're what? But no, one of our regular viewers, your ma, comes in. I love that cartoon avatar he's got as well. Brilliant. He says, Connor, were you the guy on Super Scoreboard saying we're in no rush to sign anyone? We're better than Rangers, and that's all that matters. I'm going to go out there on a limb and say, maybe a voice twin, but no danger has got a car out of the radio and said that.
No, definitely not, mate. Sorry, I might have sounded similar, but that's not me. In fact, and actually everything that's the exact opposite being on this show. And look, I know Mark's did it once, but I think majority of people that phone the Super Scoreboard are absolute crackpots and, absolute loonies. So, yeah, it's not the kind of thing that, I'd be falling into. Half of them don't even seem as if they support the team that they're calling in to try and discuss, really, because it's weird the way that the Super Scoreboard works. But yeah, I've never really been the guy who would phone in and have a go, and say stuff like that. And no, I'm not for Falkirk, mate. I'm for West Lothian. So, but I say the exact opposite. I've been going on about the board for so long now about their attitude is literally just to be slightly better than Rangers, and it's been making us all angry because it's all been plainly there to see. Just the way that we're going so far is just not what's, actually no, I would say not to be expected, but it is expected now with this board. We expect nothing. We expect no business to get done, no business to get done in a timely manner anymore. Players who we've known about for weeks are now just in the door and just put pen to paper. You're like, why? I'm left with more questions than answers every single window that goes by with a Celtic board.
Well, yeah. I mean, the title we went for, I've got to admit, I stole from our very own Liam the Punked Up Warlord. 70 million in the bank, not one clue in the boardroom. It certainly does feel like that. And I think going by the comments that we're getting as well, a lot of frustration is beginning to grow that, again, whatever happens this window, it's going to look reactive, not proactive. Such will be the date, the sort of timeline of when we get players, and it's going to now be towards the end of the window. It's so bizarre, but we've had quite a lot of hashtags with the T.N.F on it. Remember, put hashtag T.N.F if you've got a talking point for us tonight as well. We will get through as many as we can. We've sitting with 7 already, though, so I am aware of that, acutely aware of that, you could say. We will try and get through as many as we can, as I say. Let's kick off San Fran Celtic. Why not? He says, why are we better off playing our league games minus 4 important players when we can simply delay them? Now, I love this post. It seems to have got forgotten that I'm sure we did this a couple of years ago, did we not? Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure we got a fixture that was due pushed back due to unavailability. 4 important players. I mean, I suppose in the shape of Maeda and Atati, absolutely. I don't know what the story is with that San Fran Celtic. It is something I'm sure they're exploring if they feel like they need to. Maybe it's because we're strengthening that squad so much. Johnny, do you think just get on with it, even if there are 4 players away at the Asian Cup? Or if Celtic were to utilise what is a very, very valid loophole that they could to get fixtures rearranged? Obviously, we've not got European competition, so there's plenty of scope in reality for us to have a fixture or 2 rearranged. Is that something we should go down? Or when you think about it, is the fact we're 8 points clear right now a bit telling that getting points on the board sometimes can be key? And when you've got those games in hand, as we learned in the COVID season, it doesn't mean you get the 3 points. And sometimes if there were to be a turn of the tables and the other lot were ahead of us in the league, that can become more of a mental barrier to try and get over, and you can become more desperate in these sort of games as well to try and get the 3 points, thus then turning into a substandard performance. So in my opinion, I would just crack on and get on with them. But can you hear what San Fran Celtic's suggesting?
Yeah, I can understand the question. I would tend to go along with yourself, boys. I'm just trying to think, who are the 4 players that are? I mean, Kyogo's still here, so it's Maeda, Hatati, O. Who's the other one that's away?
Yang.
Yang. So, of the ones that are away, the one who's been playing the most has been Maeda, and there'll be some who would. I personally like Maeda. I know he's got more than a few faults, but I personally quite like him. I think he does do a job for us, but as Mark's always saying, it's more down to work rate and harrying. And I think his best work's been when he plays on the left and he gives Taylor a lot of coverage, if you like, because of his work rate and his speed. Yang, he's not really going to be, he's not pivotal to what we do. Neither's O. Come on, play 15, 20 minutes. Has come on, in fairness, and scored a few goals. But, how many of them have been game-defining goals? I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. So I think I would just crack on with it. I think the one you're talking about earlier on, Russell, was...
yes, please.
Did we have Rogic playing away in Australia and Maeda in Japan, Kyogo in Japan? And
I think it was that.
I don't know if we even did call it off in the end. I think we did play them because did Maeda not arrive back the night before the game or the morning of the game or something, was still put on the bench or something like that? I can't remember now. But I think we played through it anyway, and I would play through this anyway. And also, the next few games are in the Cup against Bucky on Sunday, isn't it? And then is it Ross County at home? What's the other games that is going to be affected by this? Obviously, it's going to depend how.
They put me on the spot, big man. Fucking hell.
The competition's like, Japan, I think, are probably, well, not favourites, but they're probably highly fancied to go quite deep into the Asian Cup. I'm not sure about the career, but so I'm not sure how many games is actually affected. But I would just crack on and play it and see where things land. I'd be quite confident we'd get the results that are required anyway. And like you say,
it's not always the best look, is it?
Say that again, sorry?
It's not always the best look either, is it? If it looks like you're resorting to that, it almost shows a wee bit of fragility, I think, that we don't need to be showing, do we?
Bit of fear. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, obviously everybody wants to play the strongest team, but you can't always have your strongest team available, as we've seen pretty much from day one of this season. I don't think we've really what you would fielded what Brendan would consider of the players that are available to him his strongest 11. If anybody actually knows what the strongest 11 is at the minute. Unlike before, when we did pretty much, although we always had a job trying to predict a team that Ange would put out, that was more because Ange would just throw something in and change something because he wanted to rather than because he had to. But I would just crack on in a nutshell, just crack on and get the job done.
Yeah, I think that covers it pretty well. We'll move on to CJ's point. Great to have you back on the bus, CJ, my man. Keith, what's he called? Keith, or was called the Prodigy singer. Keith Lynn, something like that. I love that picture as well. The fire starter. It's been a well-known Celtic podcast. This is aimed at you, Connor. Have you ever had any hassle of Rangers fans when you're out and about? I'm a bit more worried about getting hassle of Celtic fans and Rangers fans. If Twitter's anything to go by, I seem to do Celtic fans heads in more than Rangers fans, to be honest.
I think we have to tell CJ that Regan's a celebrity podcaster on this bus.
It's Regan. He's out with Regan, man. Honestly, he gets spotted honestly all the time, man. He's like a magnet. It's brilliant.
I've never had any trouble after them in terms of being on the podcast. It's more just because who they are really. I live in like a really big kind of Rangers area, so it's there's a lot of stuff gets hurled towards you just being a Catholic, being a Celtic fan. It's nothing out of the ordinary living in Scotland now. But I've never personally had anybody say anything to me in regards to the podcast. I've had people come up and say like, "Oh, are you on it?" I'm like, "Aye." They're like, "Oh, I'm a fan," and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, "That's great." Like, subscribe and slag Russell's hair. Cheers. But besides that, no, really. I don't know if any of you have had any bother, but I tend to keep myself to myself. I know I didn't come across it here, but I'm quite a quiet individual. I kind of keep my head down.
I didn't get fuck all. I don't even really. I think it's a case that nobody cares. I've
only met one guy who watches the show, and that was when I went to the Martin O'Neill night. This guy, because I had the top on that night, and this boy came up to me and said, "Oh, Boyce was." And he watched it. He was a boy originally from Glasgow, but it's almost some interesting stories, but I'm not going to repeat on.
Hopefully, I'm not involved in any of them.
No.
Otherwise, it'll be true. Right, okay, Charles Smith. We'll bring him up. Brilliant to have you on, Charles. T.N.F, will we just be getting the same level of player we already have? As I'm getting fed up with it all, my juices ain't bubbling. It's the same as it ever was. Conor, I'll come back to you on that. A realistic Celtic question.
I don't see us really doing anything that special this window. I think we're linked with another Korean player, and if let's be honest, the Japanese market's been relatively good for us, but in terms of the Korean market, it's been nothing but a fucking shambles in my opinion. Not one of them's came in and really set the heather alight. Kwon's on a fucking loan to St Mirren. That tells you everything you need to know. Yang's hot and cold, and O's.
Stephen Robinson looked happy about that, didn't he? I don't know if you've seen the photo. He didn't exactly look like he was on top of the world at signing.
Well, we know where his loyalties lie, but that's all I'll say on that. But O's, I don't even know how he can be divisive. I don't know how some people can really, really like him. I think he's had so long to prove what he can do and had as many opportunities, and he's not really grabbed it, in my opinion. So no, but I think the most we can hope for this window is we'll more than likely get that boy back on loan, possibly. I think that's, that seems to be picking up a bit of steam.
What sort of confidence does that fill you with, Connor? Sorry for interjecting, but see, when we're talking about it now, it's hopefully we'll get a player that was at Dundee the first half of the season on loan for the rest of this campaign. Is that a damning indictment, or is that you thinking we're going to get a guy who's had 6 months in this league, shone for Dundee so far, get him in for 6 months with a permanent deal lined up in the summer? Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're hopeful about? Because hopeful for a loan at left back, even though my expectations are low, my aspirations and my hope for Celtic was much higher than that for January, pal.
Aye, if it's a loan with an option to buy for a relatively decent price, and he continues his form and hopefully shows what he can do if he does come in, I'll be relatively happy with that, because then we'll have somebody to actually take Greg Taylor's spot, because by God, we cannot keep going on with Greg Taylor as a left back, and we don't have any cover at left back. Before anybody says Bernabé to me, no, he's just here to drink his Argentinian coffee type thing, sitting in his gaff in Glasgow and sitting going on a night suit with the players and that. That's all he's good for. Now, honestly, he's not a player for this club at all. I don't care what it says on the official documentation. So if Greg Taylor was to get injured and we did not get another left back in, we'd be absolutely fucked. We'd have to play a player out of position or play Liam Scales there or something else, and I don't want to move him from where he's been shining this season, in all honesty. So I'd be hopeful that if we get Beck in, who by all accounts has been arguably the best left back in the league this year, get him in. And if it's a loan with an option to buy, get him in. And possibly we're looking at another striker. See, after we signed Kuhn, I think it was Anthony Joseph. If you follow him on Twitter, he's a journalist for Sky Sports and stuff. He's always reporting on stuff to do with Scottish football and more specifically a lot of Celtic things. He said that now Celtic's attentions are turning to signing a left back and a striker. And I'm like, why the fuck is that just getting said now? Why wasn't that getting said before the window even opened?
Do you feel like it's because they're saying turning their attention to now? It's like we put all our eggs into getting Kuhn in, and then we could just do one thing at a time. Is that what the vibe you've picked up?
That's the way it's coming across to me. It's like scrambling, because I think the ever mounting pressures kind of almost it's getting too much. I think now for even our board to kind of sit and ignore, and even our club, because everybody's saying the exact same thing. You see it on every single thing Celtic's putting out online, things like that are saying sign more fucking players, get the finger out what he's doing. And even then, they'll be able to see that. And look, it's not like this window's been very, very strange, especially in terms of Scottish football. Nobody's really been signing anybody. Like Rangers got one player in on loan, that they're somehow funding through, I don't know, tax evasion or whatever the fuck else they're doing. And then there's only a couple of other teams signing players or getting players in on loan, like your St Mirrens, like your Motherwells. Nobody's really going all out and trying to address all the problems they've got in this window for any club. It's very, very strange. And I can guarantee you that if we don't sign the other players, they'll have all these excuses, they'll hide all their ducks lined up in a row to say, oh, it's a really difficult window. We tried to get the players in, but their agents were being difficult, or this, that, and the next excuse. It's predictable. Now, it's very, very predictable, and it's a shame we're at this point, because under Ange, his first season, we thought that we were, changing things a little bit. Things are changing. We got 3 players announced on Hugmanay, and we're like, holy shit, all 3 of them, 2 of them came in and hit the ground running. Been excellent for the club so far, in Maeda and Hatai. Edguch, obviously, I'm not even really going to judge. He got an injury against Alloa. They've never seen him again. So, yeah, and he, by all accounts, he could have been an okay player. I think he was really highly rated in Japan, stuff like that, and then could have done something, I don't know, who knows. And then we've got Matt O'Reilly and obviously that window as well. So, and then it's just kind of been a bit topsy-turvy, and you're like, why all of a sudden is this all just suddenly just shifted? They did it one time for one season, and then just nothing, no more, done. That's you got your early gifts. No more from us, no more from the Celtic board.
I absolutely agree with that. I think it was a one-season wonder what they did. That window, the first window Andrews, and it was needs must do. This is the thing which frustrates me. It was a brilliant summer window, that one, when we got Jota, Cameron Carter-Vickers with these loan to buys. We brought in Joe Hart, who will be completed 3 full seasons at Celtic if we don't bring in a replacement in January as our number one. We brought in Starfelt, who did a grand job for a couple of years at centre-back, despite many critics. We really did build a side, but it was all reactive because the squad was so decimated, because we knew Edward was leaving, and we did it with the Edward and the iron money, essentially. It was another, but it was a progressive window, because we've seen guys like Juranovic, Giacomakis at 26 years old, which I thought was really refreshing as well, not just Kyogo 26 as well, may I add. These signings were ones that were guys that were oven ready, straight into the first team, and will hit the ground running, albeit in Kyogo's case might take a bit of time adapting because he's moving from one continent to another. But you're right, Connor, it stopped after the first season. This didn't carry on under Ange, like the myth is allowed to grow. Oh, well, we got Alistair Johnston on the first day, because Ange was told in December we're selling Juranovic. That's why we got Alistair Johnston on the first day. That's why he was bedded in. He was signed early and bedded in because he was going to be our number one right back. Not because we were bringing in Alistair Johnson to compete with Juranovic for the right back jersey, as well as Tony Ralston. Or whether Ralston would have been surplus by that point. That would show that we're evolving. Juranovic and Johnson vying for right back. We're beyond that, though. It's impossible for us to have that. One first choice right back, one steady Eddie. That's basically how they see it. To be a backup. That's just one example, obviously, I'm giving there. But the window where we've seen Moy come in the free transfer, where we've seen Bernabe come in that summer, I mean, that summer window was chronic. Jens came in for 6 months. I mean, it was just a chronic window, that one. And then, obviously, as I say, that January one, we've seen Johnston come in, but it was to let Juranovic go. O came in. But it was because we knew we were getting rid of Giacomakis, and both of them for paltry fees in 2023 terms. You know what I mean? Let's get that right as well.
The length of contracts they were on.
Yeah, exactly. And what they brought to the table. What they brought to the table. One had been our top scorer. The other one had helped Croatia get to a World Cup semi-final. Fucking what are we talking about here? 7 million and 4 million. It's just embarrassing. But there we go. Let's go on to another talking point, because there's so many I'm trying to get through. So I do apologise if you've not had it read out yet, but we do appreciate all the comments coming in. We'll go for Chris M. And he's saying we've been linked with a South Korean midfielder. I've not seen this link, only to be honest. Is this to possibly replace Turnbull, or will Brendan say we have 1 million midfielders? This would clearly be a Mark Lawwell production. I can understand that, Johnny. I think anyone that now, if we go back to the Asia market, will go, right, okay. I think a lot of people feel like we've exhausted it a wee bit. And yes, at the early phases, no one expected Kyogo to go on and do what he's done. Magnificent signing. £4.5 million, may I add, though. He was a real deal signing, like I just touched on earlier as well, a peak age to be getting a player in, because we're getting him in for those late 20s where he's found himself as a footballer. And he has hit the ground running. It's no surprise. You pay decent money, you get him at a right good age. He comes in and he hits the ground running. He becomes a first-team regular and a bit of an icon for a hell of a lot of supporters as well. Maeda, Hatate, they were sort of 23, 24 when they joined. Both of them Japan internationals, Japanese internationals, I was trying to say that. They hit the ground running. But then for those three, you've got, Ideguchi, Kobayashi, Kwon, and I think that Asia, to an extent, I think for many fans, if I'm being brutally honest, hasn't cut it either, really. Fits and starts. Bits and starts, geez, what is wrong? I need to get back in the drink. It's been 2 weeks sober, that's what's killing me. Fits and starts for at best, albeit not given a great run in the team, but that's probably a reflection on where the managers have viewed him in the pecking order, to be fair, watching him in training every day. Yang, jury's very much out as well. I think the Asian market, if we do see it, again, not fair on whoever it is. Say we brought in a South Korean midfielder. It's not fair on them, Johnny, such as it's not been fair some of the critique of Nicholas Kuhn. However, such has been the amount of signings from Asia since those three brilliant ones that haven't made it. I think it would be viewed as we're going back to an old list. This isn't a manager. This is a Mark Lawwell production. This isn't a Brendan signing. This is a Mark Lawwell production. I totally get that. It's not fair if we were to sign a South Korean midfielder but neither's been the signing rate that me and you talked about at the top of the show. The strike rate, shall we say, that Celtic have had in the transfer window. That's not been fair on the fans either.
No, and I don't think. I think the last decent Korean player we signed was Key, and I think that was Lennon that signed him. I haven't seen this one about the South Korean midfielder we're apparently being linked with, but I think it's a market we need to just forget about now. Just leave it. It's not a Brendan sign. How many players has Brendan signed from Korea in his managerial career? I'd hazard a guess at none. He hasn't all of a sudden become an expert on the Korean or Japanese football market in the last 7 or 8 months. So I just cringe every time I hear that we're linked with another South Korean player, whether it be a midfielder, attacker, defender. I don't care what position he is. I've just really got no interest in them at all, because they're not Brendan signings. They're not a Brendan production. That's definitely a Mark Lowell or a Celtic board production, and we know the success rate these guys have got. Just give it a miss. I mean, like I said, why spend £2 million on somebody who you're going to end up giving to St Mirren on loan, or the likes of a St Mirren on loan, and that's not really going to benefit us in any way, shape, or form. No. I don't think. What's his name has gone to St Mirren? It's not, what one is it's gone to St Mirren again? Kuhn, whatever his name is. He's not going to come back a better player. He's not going to do an Ayer or a Christie and come back from a loan spell at an Aberdeen or a Kilmarnock and then make any progress in our team. None whatsoever. Just not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, he's a prime example. Kuhn has been an absolute nightmare signing. Shane Fox comes in, corner. He said, "Boise," and he wants to shout here. Such is his frustration. I like that, Shane. Good passion, mate. He says, "It's first team starters we'll want. No more projects. I will judge BR and the Cos Division come the 1st of September." That's 8 months away. That seems pretty reasonable, Shane. He says he's keeping the faith till then. But that said, this is the last time. Where are you at with that, Connor?
Sorry, Shane, mate, but if you're giving them 8 months, then they're going to take you for a ride. I'm sorry, because we've been on at them for months now, and nothing's even working. You know, I said that before, this could possibly be the most important transfer window in the club's, modern day history, because of how neck and neck it is, because of the spoils at the end of it, and because at the end of the day, neither team has looked massively excellent. There's usually one team, it's usually us, let's be honest, we'll just look miles clear of everybody else. It was there last season, it was even there in Angie's season when we were second. We still looked a much better team compared to everybody else in terms of football and stuff like that. So I don't have any faith that even if you give them time to September, that they'll address any of these key areas with any kind of, market improvements, the ones that we've been crying out for so long now. I feel that we're on this giant green and white Celtic coloured hamster wheel, just going round and round in circles, because it's the same thing over and over again. I feel like we see it every single window, no matter whether it's the summer or whether it's the winter window, the January window. It's a bit depressing, but they've got just over 2 weeks to get 2 players in key positions. They're trying to trim the fat in the squad. I don't know why Mikey Johnson's still at this club. By all accounts, he had a good season at Portugal. Don't know why they couldn't flog him, just leave him there. Tell him he's not getting back in the plane, just fucking leave him there. Why we just got rid of the players like Ideguchi, and even just last season we just got rid of the players like Barkas and Ajeti. We're taking far too long to get rid of the Deadwood. We're giving them 1 season, a season and a half, 2 seasons before the board are like, Jesus, we need to get rid of them, and it's choking up an awful lot of wages. And it's not even necessarily like we need the extra money, because as we all know, we've got plenty of money in the bank account to go out and get these decent players. You know, we could go and pay. We have got enough money right now. We could pay a record-breaking fee for a player that Brendan Rodgers knows inside and out that he knows that boy's worth every single penny. He walks into that first team tomorrow and will win us this league. But we won't do it. They just won't do it. The Lawwells and the Desmonds of this club and this world are just content to twist and squeeze and drain every single penny out of this club that they can get their grubby mitts on, and it's really it's sad because they don't deserve it. Like, what have they ever done for this club, really? You know, we're the ones that turn up week in, week out, support, pay all our hard-earned wages, go out in the cold, protest or raise money for certain causes and all of this stuff. And it's, look, I know people are saying, I'll give them time, don't panic, there's still time. You're saying that now, but what happens if in 5 days Rangers sign four new players? They pay money for them, right? They take the gamble. That's the thing between us and them. Even if they don't got the fucking money, they'll take the gamble. They'll risk it all. They'll, in for a penny, in for a pound, risk it for a biscuit. That's what they'll do to try and win this league and try and claw off us, because they're so desperate for the money that they need to try and put the foot down to try and go for it. We won't do that. We just don't really have the bollocks, I'd say, in the boardroom to go and do it. And now we thought with Ange, if he was staying, we thought we had somebody who could, corral the board and kind of, tell them to wisen up a bit. I think
the infamous £30 million summer budget, remember, that Ange was going to have? That was the stories, was it not? 6 months ago or 8 months ago?
And look, that's when people, there's clips going today about, the atmosphere was so weird in the Scottish Cup final last season because we all knew he was going. You're like, you don't blame him, really. I mean, look at him at Spurs this season. They've backed him to the hilt. Basically, he's getting players who he wants in and stuff like that. They see the direction he's going and where he can possibly take Spurs, and they're not scared to back him. Fair enough.
He would go at Spurs anyway, right?
Right? No, exactly. Aye, but I'm just for just for talking's sake. And all of this is hypothetical, whether Rangers sign anybody or don't. But I'm just saying, if this is the thing, if they do it, if they get these players in who they believe could help them over the line to win the title, and they're playing in the Champions League with that extra £40 million, then you'll know all about it. Because then what will we do? Then it's panic stations, all hands on deck, and then you'll see some action for the board because they're so reactionary. It's like rats from a sinking ship. They scurry and claw. They try and get themselves above water to get themselves oxygen. And that's the way that we're being run right now. It's, we're playing with fire in the end of the day because it's so neck and neck right now. And I know that the finances say otherwise because they're fucking skint, we know. But I'm talking in terms of the quality of players we've got and how we are backing the manager, right? And backing, the background team, everything, right? It's so neck and neck right now that you're playing with fire and it could blow up in our face one day soon.
Yeah, no, good points raised, mate, definitely. I'm going to bring up NMs. There's been loads of comments coming in, so we are trying to get through them, as I keep saying. Remember, if you are watching us over 160 live, give us a like whilst you're there, or a thumbs down, I don't really care. It's all good for the algorithm, asked Phil McGinley. NM says, #T.N.F, the squad's too big. Must be an issue right now with signing players before we can get some out. Is that the hold-up? I think NM's getting at. Getting rid of the players we need to punt will be a lot harder than bringing in the ones we really want. Johnny, I mean, that says it all, though. This is why it's so fucked, because you're going to get rid of players that weren't good enough in the first place to trust the same people to repeat the same mistakes and shop in the same supermarkets and expect a different outcome. It's insane what we're watching right now, is it not?
Without a doubt. And I mean, let's face it, why is the squad too big? Because these guys went out and bought players in the summer who in our heart of hearts, we knew these aren't going to be, they're not going to be deal breakers. They're not going to make the difference. They're not going to take us to the next level. But what makes me laugh is when we always talk about the next level, the next level could be down the way as well as up the way, And at the minute, they have taken us to the next level. They've taken us down a level.
I think that's a great point.
Because there's absolutely, there's no two ways about it. We're not as good a team as we were, or we're not as good a team, we're not as strong a team as we were this time last year. This time last year, we had absolutely no doubts where that title was finishing. Absolutely none. And to go back to Shane Fox's point there, statement he made, won't we give him to the 1st of September? Does that count if we blow this title? Because I don't think you will give him to the 1st of September if we blow this title.
Yep.
But the squad's too big, and of course it's going to be difficult to get rid of players who are on 4 and 5 year contracts or still got 3 or 4 years of their contracts to go. The best example of how difficult it is to get rid of somebody, a guy who is, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know whether he turns up for training or not, but he's picking up wage. He hasn't kicked a ball for I don't know how long, and Mr. McCarthy, and we can't give him away. We can't get him to. We can't buy him off. He's not going to accept he's not going to accept a pay cut to go. He's just quite happy to sit there and take his wages. So it's difficult to get rid of players who you've signed who are crap. And the board signed them, and some of them only came in the summer. That's why we've got too big a squad, because they bought all these project players, and now we can see the projects aren't working. But the problem is you can't get rid of the project, and so you might just have to bite the bullet and say, "All right, we've got too many players here. Shove them to the side. Let's get the 3 or 4 in that we need to get this title over the line. Because if we don't, as Connor's just said, we're going to hand a fortune to the other side of the city, and they will go out and spend it.
Well,
they'll do it with us, but we should have done them. They will do their best to leave us in their trail, and we've been quite happy to let them stay within touching distance. When
totally agree with that as well.
We should have been right over the hill and so far out of sight.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, anyone who thinks they've done a good job, this board, is just crazy when you even factor that in. It's just madness. Connor, I mean, when it comes to the beefiness, if you like, of the squad, we knew last summer we felt we were only going to need 3 or 4 additions to try and push on in our mind, right? To our mind, it was to try and see if we could make more of a fist of the Champions League this season than what we did last year. We only got 2 points here before. I appreciate we got 4 this year, but 3 were in a dead rubber. Therefore, we got 1 point out of 5 games when it mattered. That's the reality. Now, when it comes to the summer, we actually go out and bring in, I should say, 9 players. No one thought Celtic needed 9 players. Nobody thought they needed 9 players. What I expected to do was maybe get 2 or 3 quality, even though we're pushing for the 3 or 4. Maybe get 2 or 3 quality, and then you'd see 1 or 2 of these Thiago home type signings. That, I think, would have been fair. Both camps have had their way that way. The manager, all managers, by the way, this isn't a Brendan thing. All managers want players that can come in and impact the first team. Go out, let's identify them. Let's go and get a couple that can really, really strengthen our ranks. Then I'll play ball with you as well. And there's a couple of guys you've had recommended. Do you know what? I'll give them a chance. And they'd have far more of a chance if it was only 1 or 2 of them as well. Not this big cluster of them all. And was Thiago home and Kuhn ever going to start in the same midfield at any point this season? What the fuck? Ulaga, Bielka and Rocket, I appreciate, is an unlikely duo at the back when they've came in, but they went and beefed up that area as well quite a fair bit. I think the jury's out on both of those so far right now, to be honest with you, albeit recency bias will lead you up to the path that Rocky's been a good signing so far. He wasn't fancied for 3 months. I think he was injured for maybe half of that period. After that, he couldn't get a look in. He was even getting match day squads. We have to be honest. The signing process has been utterly bizarre. We'll move on to another one for you though, pal. And Terry Robb, our very own Terry, was in the chat earlier, piping up this name and saying, just go out and get Doig. The scout comes in. He says, #T.N.F. What Scottish players would you sign to help the coefficient? We did, of course, a dedicated show on that Friday feeling a couple of weeks ago with Phil. It was brilliantly put together. Check that out, the scout, if it's something that you are keen on, because we broke down the whole sort of Scotland national squad. But he's saying $5 million dog. We should be Doig. $5 million dog. That'd be an expensive dog. $5 million Doig. We should be snapping him up. I think it's a fair price for a player who'll come back. We'll be coming back to Celtic, a far better player than what he left the SPFL with these experiences. More than affordable, more within our budget, and has a long-term vision with it as well, which we all know they like a player's age to be what Josh Doig's is when it comes to future sell-ons and things like this.
I mean, I was under the impression he was maybe going to Marseille, but I think there was some rumours recently that deal had kind of collapsed for some reason. I think it was to do with apparently Marseille and Verona actually have quite a weird relationship in terms of transfers. They have had ones before where they've literally just collapsed at the last minute for reasons unknown, and I don't think Marseille are too happy about it. Like Verona are kind of fucking them over a wee bit, but I'd take Josh Doig. You know, if we kind of get that boy Owen Beck, I think Josh Doig coming in would be a very, very good signing. In terms of the other
He's
Scottish
no
players,
gone, Alex. He's still there. The Verona Marseille thing fell apart, by the way, pal, just so you know.
It was Verona that pulled the plug on it for some reason. I don't know what it was, but it was Verona that actually pulled the plug.
There was a deadline set for Marseille. Sorry for cutting you off, Connor, but Doig is very much still available. I think the most recent link is Sassuolo. They've got the I think it's 5.1 million or something they're saying. They seem to have it ready to pay for him. They've had first-hand look at him. Sorry, Connor, you go about Doig though anyway. Just to clarify, he's very much available.
I mean, I think if that's the case, then I think he's Sassuolo bound. I don't think that Celtic are going to come in and match that bid. Let's be fucking frank. We were trying to haggle for £200,000 over the Nicholas Kuhn deal. So, and that's a dribble, a piss, and a fucking urinal. It's absolutely nothing for Celtic. 200k is chump change. It's embarrassing, that we're still trying to haggle over that. And I seen somebody for my podcast last week saying, I don't care. It's, you didn't go in with the asking price right away. I'm like, you're not trying to buy a 2004 Honda Civic off somebody in somebody's garage. You're buying, you're in a big boy market looking for, players to help you win a league title. And if it's really, really important, you didn't fanny about, because they could just easily turn around and say to you, why, you've got the money there, we know exactly what your finances are like, you're trying to take the piss, fuck off, do one, see you later, we'll sell them to somebody else who's going to pay the money for them, who wants them, who's already been ringing us up.
And so do you think Celtic asked the question, Connor?
What, for Josh Doig?
Yeah.
My honest gut feeling is they wouldn't have asked the question anyway.
No, that would require, a decent scouting department and looking for decent players of decent quality who are developing in other markets who could be value for money, and also, help us with the coefficient thing as well. It would require some actual decent work to be going on behind the scenes, which we all know does not happen at Celtic. So no, that's not really what I think's been happening there. And he's also been linked to Rangers this window as well, and it kind of looks as if, when Celtic and Rangers are linked to a club, is usually more Rangers are interested in them, but they'll fling Celtic's name in there to give a wee bit more of a spice to the story, when Celtic aren't really that bothered, and Rangers obviously just can't afford them. But in terms of other Scottish players, I know he's not really his cup of tea, and he's where he's coming from and his family and all this other shit. But I'd snap the handle for Lawrence Shankland now, just as another striker that we know can do it in this league. And here's the thing you were saying earlier. You were saying, we were looking for 3 or 4 really quality players to try and push us on in Europe. Where we're at now, we're looking for 3 or 4 quality players to push us on to win the Scottish Premiership. We've went back.
That's a fair point.
We went
Very
back
good.
massively steps in that scenario, because we're just now looking for players to get us over the line in the Scottish Premiership against teams like Livingston and Motherwell and St Mirren. That's an embarrassment. That is gross misconduct in terms of what they're meant to be doing. We're in a big pit of quicksand, and we're slowly sinking. And that board have got a big hammer, a big shovel, try to put us back down, keep putting us back down, and try to keep themselves afloat. That's what they're trying to do. Try to keep their head above it and push us down along the way, because they're not interested in helping us, evolve as a club. It's been said time and time again, and I'm sick to the back teeth of stating the same opinions, the same phrases, the same, arguments over and over again about how inept this board is and how much they don't want us to even just attempt at trying to do anything.
They've got to keep us remotely interested, otherwise there wouldn't be people buying all the season tickets. I do take your point that they definitely have put a glass ceiling on Celtic that's way, way lower than what I think Celtic can become and should maybe potentially already be in the tenure that they've had at the club. But talking about Shankland deal, let's move away from Loris Shankland as the option. But Danish comes in earlier on and he was asking, why can't we just have 3 strikers at the club? Let's not say it has to be Lawrence Shankland, Johnny, but why can't we have 3 strikers at the club? I've been banging this drum for at least 18 months on the bus. I mean, it just baffles me, particularly right now. If Kuhn was to get injured and knows at the Asian Cup, I mean, you don't even have the silly option of putting Maida up top through the middle. We're going to get told, obviously, that Nicholas Kuhn's actually had a spell playing through the middle, and Palma actually likes playing striker as well. Or are we going to go out and get some real competition for that striker jersey as well?
I hope so. I've got absolutely no idea who it would be. If it was Shankland, I wouldn't have a problem with being Shankland. I don't give a toss where he's come from, what his background is. I mean, it's never been a problem for us. We've had plenty people from that persuasion, football allegiance-wise, come across and put the hoops on and never had a problem with it. The 3 strikers, I so fondly remember the days when we quite regularly had 3 strikers on the books, you know. Charlie Nicholas, Frank McGarvey, George McCluskey, you know, all 3 quality strikers with maybe even another Jim Melrose or whatever in the background for absolute dire straits, backup sort of stuff, if you like. But yeah, every club needs to have at least 3, a minimum of 2 good strikers, not 1 good striker and an O or something like that. We need more of a Kyogo and a Giacomakis and play them together. But why not have 3 strikers on the squad? You know, not just 2, 3. You know, because you get injured like that, you know, go out against Bucky Thistle, who, let's face it, you know, these guys are nowhere near the same level as even the worst player in our squad. They're you know, and they might look like hammer throwers and whatnot, but it all comes down to they're just not good enough. They're not fast enough. They're too slow, and the tackles, they're not even mistimed. They're just not timed at all. They're just nowhere near it. I mean, I've played against some good football players and thought, Jesus, I can't get anywhere near this guy, and that'll happen on Sunday. And there's a real risk of picking up injuries, not because the guys have gone out to deliberately kick any Celtic player, or they're just not in the same league, not in the same class in any way, shape, or form, and that's a real danger. So we need plenty backup, and I don't think even 1 extra striker, 2 strikers is enough for the club. We should have at least 3, like we did back in the day.
Totally agree with that. That's how players progress. The stronger competition, learning from your peers. And if you fall behind, so be it. We're a club that's looking to evolve, not pander to individuals. We have to be stronger than that. We have to and we have to be more flexible, I think, in terms of our shape, how we line up in games. There is at no point any team in that league whatsoever that does any of their pre-match work or looking ahead to the game in the week ahead of the match, where they base it on Celtic potentially starting 2 up top. They know how our shape and formation is going to look like. They know exactly what they're up against. It's then just the individuals who are in each position, which is a bit predictable probably too. But I don't understand how anyone could be against having 3 strikers at the football club. It is massive. And if anyone falls by the wayside, you get another in and you get him out. And that's how you start evolving. You need to get ruthless here. And if guys are so bad that Celtic are signing, here's the other one. See, if guys are so bad that Celtic are signing that they can't get bidding clubs for them, then fucking look at your recruitment for the first place. We should still be able to be signing players of a level that when they come in here, if they can't make the grade, there's still plenty of clubs wanting them. See, if no clubs are interested within 6 months right now in players we brought in for £2-3 million just 6 months ago, anyone willing to take a punt on them, what does that tell you about the competition we faced when we signed them in the first place? It must have been minimal. And clearly, we're barking up the wrong tree with plenty of them. Right, okay, we've only got 5 minutes to go, so we'll do this really quickly. We're just going to do a round robin. We'll just do 1 sentence answers. Why not? For the last 3 points. Kevin Malley comes in. Hashtag T.N.F. How would you feel about a Vardy loan deal? I don't know if he's joking or not. Connor, come to you.
I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I think he's a bit old now, maybe a wee bit past it, but I wouldn't say no. He's a proven striker, and, you know, he was running amok in the Premier League for so long, so I'd be generally happy if we managed to get Jamie Vardy in the door.
No. Too old. No, I don't know. I mean, he's not going to game for Leicester at the minute, is he? I mean, I don't know. Don't keep an eye on Leicester. But no, I just think that boat sailed a long time ago. Because Lenny wanted to sign him for £1 million, didn't he? But no, that boat sailed now. I wouldn't have Varney, I don't think.
Yeah. No. I mean, I mean, does that give you the quality that you're looking for? Probably not. But if we go down Connor's angle of, if we go down the angle that Connor was saying, that we actually need a few players to bring in just to get over the line in the league, does he help you get over the line? Does it inspire me? Fucking hell no. Is it part of my hopes and aspirations for January? Hell no. But as a needs must, fucking hell. I can't believe I'm considering that it might work. It might be something that would work. Who knows? Bloody hell. But that just tells you, I mean, how far off it that I see it. I think he's about 35, 36. 35 year younger than me. Give my age away. I think he's a year younger than me. So he'll be 36 this year anyway. But would he come in and do a job for 6 months, score goals? He probably would. He'd be another option, but fucking hell, man.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point.
Yeah, it doesn't fill me with loads of confidence.
If he's willing to sit on Leicester's bench, he'd be willing to sit on ours, I suppose. So, I mean, that's the problem you've got. You bring another striker in. We know he's not coming in.
What would they be demanding in wages as well?
Yeah, well, yeah, but what I was going to say, because we're not going to play two strikers, whoever we bring in, we know at the minute is probably not going to be replacing Kyogo. They're coming there as backup for Kyogo. So we've got to wonder, are they going to be willing to do that anyway? You know, if you fancy yourself as a top-class striker who's getting anything like regular game time to come in and play back up to Celtic's Japanese striker, I don't know if they'd be too keen to do it. Vardy would be, but then again, it all depends how much you'd have to pay him. He's on a good wage there, I suppose, isn't he? He needs to pay for that court case, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, fucking hell. Right, CJ is back in. He says, if we blow this league, would that be the end of the Lawwells? I think they'd throw Brendan under the bus for that, and Brendan would be as culpable as anyone because he didn't, you know, show some poise, show some backbone in the summer. But yeah, a lot of them could go if we blew this league as far as I'm concerned, CJ. Would it be the end of the Lawwells, though? I would say no. Connor?
Nah, no, even a fucking nuclear explosion could take the two cockroaches out, genuinely. Nah, even if we lose this league and even if we fuck up monumentally, they'll just throw Brendan under the bus and be like, see, that's why we never backed him, because he was never good enough in the first place. Right, John Kennedy, in you come. Here's the manager's job again, there you go. That's what would happen.
Blowing the 10 didn't get rid of them, did it? I know one of them wasn't there at the time. I know one of them took a little step back, but he was never gone. Really,
he did that at the end of that season, didn't he? It was the end of that season he took his sabbatical.
Yeah.
You know, there's no halfway through.
I think he took more up sabbatical than the end of them, wasn't it? I mean, the very fact he's back in there as chairman now tells you that wasn't the end of them, was it?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But I'm glad we're all in agreement on that. And then the last one, Chris Fraser, T.N.F, and I suppose it is the $1 million question. Who is to blame for the volume of bad signings? Johnny, I'll come to you first on that one, just to mix the order up a wee bit.
I think that's the whole shebang. To be honest with you, the board are to blame because they're over the recruitment. They put the recruitment people in place. They're the names that come up with it. The board back them, and unfortunately, and it pains me to say it, but Brendan goes along with it. So they're all to blame. Every single one of them is to blame to certain levels. And Brendan has to take more than his fair share. But I just said he's not for me.
Connor?
This is what I want. I don't want this guy I've never heard of from the Korean market. I want this guy who I know, who I've seen play. Because as I said it before, Brendan's never shopped in the Korean market before. Probably not even been in a Korean restaurant. Never mind, he looked in the Korean market. So they're all to blame, and they're all probably as bad as each other, to be fair. And I was a big Brendan. I wanted Brendan in right from the start, and it guts me to have to say that. The fact that I think Brendan's just as much to blame as the board.
Go on, Connor.
I think it's just every facet that's going on now. It's the Lawwells, it's the Desmond penny pinching with the money, it's the recruitment, it's the nepotism from, getting Lawwell Jr. in the door, who was a fucking printing faxes and, buying the coffees at Man City's, and fucking and printing and getting coffees and that for fucking Man City's academy. That's all he was really good for. Let's be honest, he was bigged up as being the guy behind a lot of Man City's recruitment. Like, what's he fuck? He fucking was not that. No chance. But and it's Brendan as well. Brendan's got to take his lumps as well, whereas he's equally as guilty for signing off on them and not having the cojones to just say, no, I don't want this. He's honestly that either in the next 14 days, which I don't see, or come next summer if we've won the league and done a double and whatever, we're successful.
You're giving him 8 months too now, aren't you?
No, I'm just saying because I think he might still be there come next summer. So he'll have to take his balls at his Gucci man purse and just say to the board like I've done that with you for a season. Do not fuck me over this time, because I swear to God, if you do it again, I'll be off ski. But at every level, they're all equally as guilty parties, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the system that's absolutely flawed. But then once you become part of the system, you either try to upset that and change its path of direction, or you get on board with it. And sadly, Brendan got on board with it in the summer and was led up a garden path. It's his own doing for not having the courage of his convictions to get the quality that he needed over the line in any way, shape, or form. But it's undeniably for me the majority of the blame lies in what their absolute, what they think is a well-oiled machine and a production line of quality players. Basically, if you look, see the 20 million we spent in the summer on these 9 players, they'll already have earmarked the Matt O'Reilly money for this summer to cover it. Well, the Jota money last summer covered it. That's what they do. And they'll hope that come this summer, it'll be the Matt O'Reilly money that will cover the next batch of untested, unproven players that don't influence your first team unless you strike gold. And sadly, even Celtic's strike rate for striking gold has diminished massively of late, as we were talking about earlier with the 17 out of 19 signings not quite making the grade. Anyway, that's us past an hour. There's over 200 on the bus. Remember, give us a like, give us a share. By all means, slag their hair. Keep your eyes on the board. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks to Johnny. Thanks to Connor. We're out of here.
See you later, guys. Have a good night.